You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here. You are here. You're mending every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are, yeah. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Yeah, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. We declare that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. That is who you are. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop. Yeah, you never stop. Yeah, I can. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop. Oh, one more time. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop. Hey, 'cause you are waymaker, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God. Oh, come on, one more time with all you got. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, one more time, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are.
For generation after generation, we have gathered for one reason: to tell the story. The one that changes everything. That salvation is not found within, but with Jesus. We tell it again and again, generation upon generation. We teach them the Bible isn't just 66 books bound together. It's one big story. When we see the Bible as one narrative, it changes how we read it. We see that Adam's fruit led to Noah's rain and Joseph's pit. We see that Abraham's ram and Jonah's fish and David's giant foretold us of Mary's manger and the one who would reunite man with God. When we see that every story points to the one, it changes how we teach our kids, how we see ourselves, how we see God. We have one mission, one purpose, one job to do. To share the story with them in as many ways and as many times as we can. This is the big story of the Bible. This is the one story that changes everything.
Good afternoon, Central Kids, and welcome to our Wednesday devotion. My name is Lazarus, and I'm going to be telling you my story. And you're probably wondering, well, what's so important about your story? Well, first of all, you're probably wondering, what are you wearing? Well, this is fine linen, and I've been dead now for 4 days. I'm pretty ripe, I'm pretty stinky, and thank goodness you're not in the same room as me, right? But this is my story, and you're probably wondering, how does this story relate to me? Well, in a sense, everybody is Lazarus, because in our former ways, we were all dead before Jesus came. Jesus came, and then he called us to him, and when you enter into a relationship with Jesus and you give your life to him, you are a new creation in God, right? Literally, Jesus gives you a new life. And so your former ways are dead and you were made alive in Jesus. And so we're going to look at the story of Lazarus and we're going to see how that pertains to us. And so we're going to jump into John chapter 11, and I'm just going to highlight some of the major points in here just because of the time that we have together. But we're going to start in verse 1, and it reads this. Now a man named Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. This Mary, whose brother Lazarus now lay sick, was the same one who poured perfume on the Lord and wiped his feet with her hair. So the sister sent out word to Jesus, Lord, the one who you love is sick. And so basically what is happening here, I gotta move this. It's hot in this thing. So basically what's happening here is you have Mary and you have Martha, who are sisters to Lazarus, and he's sick. So they're calling to Jesus saying, hey, the one that you love is sick, Lazarus. And so they're reaching out to him hoping that he can come because at this time he's been performing all these miracles. And so they know this. And then it reads on, when he heard this, Jesus said, the sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory that God's Son may be glorified through it. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus, and so when he heard this, Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was 2 more days, and then he said to his disciples, let us go back to Judea. And then the disciples say, but Rabbi, they said a short while ago the Jews that tried to stone you there, and yet you are going back. So this really paints a picture, and what I love here is Jesus isn't afraid to go after us, even though maybe the sickness, maybe we are dead in our former trespasses, and maybe the sin we are in, it isn't good. The sin that is causing us death is probably not the most appealing, and probably isn't something that a man like Jesus, God himself would want to go to rescue us out of, but he did it. And he wasn't scared of the consequences. He wasn't scared to get stoned. He wasn't scared to have repercussions or drawback from the people. So he goes. And so we're going to jump down to verse 17, and it says this. On his arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Right, I told you guys I've been in here for 4 days. I'm pretty stinky. I'm at this point, I'm not alive. My body is going to start decaying. It's crazy, this picture that is painted in John chapter 11. And verse 21 says, Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask. Jesus said to her, "Your brother will rise again." Martha answered, "I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day." Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die, and whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this?" "Yes, Lord," she replied. "I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who is to come into the world." After she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside. "The teacher is here," she said, "and is asking for you." When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. So I love this. Jesus is basically taking his stand and stating that I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die, and whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? So, just as Lazarus was dead for 4 days, I myself was dead once, and then Jesus came into my life. He is the resurrection. He did give me life. I do believe in him, and by that, I will never die. Even if I experience a physical death here, to die is gain because I will be with Jesus, right? That's what he's saying here. And so verse 33 starts off, when Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. "Where have you laid him?" he asked. And so everybody is just weeping because Lazarus is dead. Martha and Mary and those that followed, they're very sad, and Jesus feels this sadness, right? And I love this because sometimes we don't feel like Jesus can relate to us because he was God. Well, he experienced all the same emotions. You know, when we talked about Jesus experiencing anger, he experienced sadness, he experienced all the things that we did. And so it reads on, then the Jews said, "See how he loved him," right? Jesus is weeping, and they see this, and they go, wow, he really loves him. But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying?" So some of them see the love that Jesus had, but then there are others that have a totally different mindset, and they go, well, you know, if he could have healed the blind, couldn't he have kept him from dying? And so Jesus, once more deeply moved, came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone laid across the entrance. "Take away the stone," he said. "But Lord," said Martha, the sister of the dead man, "by this time there is a bad odor, for he has been there 4 days." Then Jesus said, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone. Jesus looked up and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe you who sent me," right? And so Jesus is saying, I didn't have to do this, but I'm doing it to make a declaration that if you believe in me, there is life. And so I love that. And you know, all it takes is belief. It takes faith in Jesus, nothing else. Our works don't get us into heaven, nothing but the blood of Jesus and who he is, and trusting in him. When he had said this, Jesus called in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen and clothes around his face. Jesus said to them, "Take off the grave clothes and let him go," right? And so that's exactly, guys, what Jesus did for me, right? And he did it for you if you believe in him. He says, get up. You are not a dead man. He says, take off those linens. You are a new creation in me, and you have life in me. And what I want to end off with, guys, is, listen, Jesus calls each and every one of us, right? He calls you, and he has a purpose for your life. And by believing in him, he gives you a new life, and he says to follow him. Now, look, the way that we follow him and the calling that we have on our lives is different for each and every one of us. Some of you might be doctors, firefighters, pastors. You might be ministers. You might be chaplains. Who knows what Jesus has for you? You might be a business owner, a carpenter. Jesus has a plan for your life, but that plan is to glorify him. And hopefully that plan will save many lives by bringing them the gospel, and everybody you encounter, you can share Jesus with them. And so, guys, that's the story of Lazarus. You know, he was a dead man. Jesus came, and by faith in him, Jesus raises us from a spiritual death, and he gives us new life. And someday we will experience a physical death. This life is momentarily, it's like a water vapor, the Bible says. Like, it comes and goes so fast, but you know what? If you believe in Jesus, there's no fear of death. There is only a hope that we have to see Jesus someday and get to be with him for eternity. So that is so amazing. But guys, I love you, and I just want to share that we are getting very close to hopefully getting back to our normal schedule. Last Sunday we kicked off, actually being able to have church together. And so I want to invite you guys this upcoming Sunday. The doors will be open. You guys can come. We won't have any other services but our main Sunday service. But like last week, Pastor Josh brought an awesome message, and Pastor Bill will be bringing an awesome message this upcoming Sunday. So please join us in fellowship, and I love you guys. Can't wait to see you.
Martha, what's wrong?
My brother is dead.
Show me the tomb.
He's been there 4 days.
Lazarus. I am the resurrection and the life. Anyone who believes in me, even if he dies, he will still have life.
Lazarus.
Whoever believes in me shall never die. Believe in me, and you will see the glory of God.
Healer, mender, master, savior, lover, giver, name above all names. Ruler, redeemer, risen, conqueror, Jesus, Jesus, name above all names. Your name is Jesus, risen from the dead. You are the glory, lifter of our head. You have the only name by which we can be saved. I call you Jesus. Oh, I call you Jesus. Healer, mender, master, savior, lover, giver, name above all. powerful names. Ruler, Redeemer, risen, conqueror, Jesus, Jesus, name above all names. Your name is Jesus, risen from the dead. You are the glory, the lifter of our head. You have the only name by which we can be saved. I call you Jesus. Oh, I call you Jesus. Oh, nobody greater than you. Nobody stronger than you. No name is higher than the name of Jesus. Nobody bigger than you. No one can do what you do. No name is higher than the name of, higher than the name of Jesus.